Hi, welcome. In this episode, I'm going to be cleaning up the kids' room, like really get under furniture and maybe declutter some toys. So this is what I'm doing here, and then in the second half, I'll be working on the kitchen. And I wanted to use this video, since there's not that much to explain about what I'm doing, to just go back into the story about the two apartments and the move. So, in the second episode, I talked a lot about what took place with the sewage flood that forced us out of that apartment and into this one. And there's still an ongoing situation because the previous landlord lost in small claims, and I was awarded some money for damages. And I wasn't even trying to collect this money, but the lawyer that my husband consulted said that we have a very easy case in small claims. So it seemed like there's nothing to lose except for the time of going to court. And I was really putting it off. I didn't feel like doing it until I realized that my husband was pretty frustrated with me for not going. And I was on the lease, so I had to do it. I did go get all the receipts together from all the things that we purchased recently, which was a lot of furniture, which is the things that got damaged, and some moving expenses, even though I don't have a count of the full moving expenses, but we also needed to get our deposit back, which we didn't get. And I did contact the landlord directly to try to get this money back, and he stopped responding to me. So even the neighbor said that he had talked to somebody, either the super or the neighbors, and he did sort of hint that he was going to give us some compensation for what happened. And even if he did that, or if he reached out to us in any way, it would have been, maybe we wouldn't have gone to court. Like, at least just being acknowledged that this was like a huge hardship and very difficult maybe would have been enough. But like, our savings were completely cleared out because we had to get not only the moving expenses but and the new deposit for this place. We had to get a lot of new furniture. So when I eventually ended up going to small claims, I won because I had a proof of the receipts. I explained in detail what happened and how there were things that could have been done to make this less of a problem, or that the landlord could have been more cooperative, and maybe this maintenance didn't take place in the right way, where it caused just so much damage. So I got awarded the money that I asked for, which was like a whole year later. And at that point, of course, the landlord was notified. And also, I reached out to him again saying, like, I won the court case. To which, like, a few weeks later, I got an email from the landlord's attorney who said that the court ruling shouldn't matter because the court was held at the wrong date. And I thought this was hilariously absurd because, yes, there was a date change that I was notified of. I didn't request the date change. It came like a week before the date, and it was like set for a day before at a different time. So I can totally understand why they would have missed it. But still, like, I found a way to be there and they didn't. So I don't really know how that was an argument, but they offered me half of the money that I won. And I said, no, I need the full payment, and that I'm getting a marshal involved, which I probably shouldn't have said, but it doesn't matter because the landlord would have hid his money anyway, which is what ended up happening because when the marshal went to serve him with whatever it is, basically, it's paperwork saying that the landlord has to reveal his finances and then they would take money out of that. So when the paperwork came back, it said that the landlord had insufficient funds, which is completely absurd because he has multiple properties that he's in charge of, and he has his personal property. And there are so many ways to hide money. If you go on Google, and I've done this like while I was looking for a Marshall, I Googled Marshall, and the first search results that came up were instructing people how to hide money from such an inquest. So I wasn't super surprised. However, I was just trying to see if I could repeat the process again. The court orders him to pay me even if it's like 10 years. I think that the court order is good for 10 years. So I was trying to contact the marshal, and it took me over a year to get a response, which is completely insane. Like, I was calling, I was leaving messages, I was sending emails. All I wanted was a simple yes or no, like, can I do this again or not? Or is there some reason I can't? And the only reason I didn't go there was because it's pretty far away and I'd have to drive there. It's kind of annoying. It's not really any near anything else or anywhere else that I go. So I was just kind of patiently waiting for a reply, which I actually got recently. And yes, I can repeat the process again. However, I just changed my name recently. My last name has been legally changed. So for me to get a new paper that says that I was awarded this money and that I can collect, I had to go back to court several times, give them different types of documents. I had to mail notice to the landlord that I'm going through this process to change my name, because anything I do, he has to be notified. And now I have to go back to court in 6 months just for the judge to hear me say that I want to change my name. And this apparently opens me up to the landlord coming to this hearing and trying to say something about me. I don't know. I asked, can he do that? Can he present evidence against me? And they made it seem like yes, like the clerk for the small claims said like, yeah, they can come in and say and do whatever they want. So now I'm like really nervous because I don't want to open this back up. I was actually happy they weren't there. And I don't want to go back into this, but for me to try to collect, I want to make sure I have like everything with the same names so that eventually it works. So I'm trying to go through the proper channels, but I was really surprised that I couldn't just go in and simply just change my name, and that it's a huge process that is now going to take another 6 months. And the reason I found out that I'm going to have to like change my name in this official way was because I eventually, after not hearing back from the marshal, contacted a sheriff, and I had completely forgotten that that was even an option. So I went to the sheriff's office, and they have a lot more documents that they need me to fill out, and they needed to be notarized. And they said like, oh, well, your ruling was from a few years ago. Why don't you get a new ruling? I don't know why, but I said I also had a name change, and they said you have to get that changed too, because you can't get this notarized with your old name to have like this go smoothly. You really need to have everything up to date. And that's when I went to court and realized it's going to take 6 more months just to get the name change, and then I can think about getting either the sheriff or the marshal involved again. So this is just really dragging, but I am determined to keep trying for the 10 years or however long. Hopefully, it doesn't take that long, but I'm just hoping that the landlord just gets tired of getting these summonses or whatever they're called to show his finances, and I'm just hoping that I will get this money back eventually. So that wraps up, not neatly, but for now, the former apartment. And then with this new one, it's also a really fun adventure because, like I mentioned in the previous video where you saw me painting the windowsill, it came in pretty horrific condition, especially since there was no furniture in here. You could see everything, and it was just really dreary. The deal with this landlord was that he purchased this apartment for maybe a tenth of market rate. And the reason being is that this uh, building was purchased by an individual in the 70s who had many children, and some of the siblings acquired an apartment. Some of these units are rented out directly by the family, but what happened with this unit was that one of the siblings wanted to sell it to the family because she was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and nobody would buy it because they just assumed it should just be like given to the rest of the family for them to split it up however. So she ended up finding like a distant relative, like a cousin or a nephew, who was able to purchase it. Now, when I say like a tenth of market rate, like, yeah, it was very affordable. So the family refused to pay and she found someone else. And so this man now owns this unit and is able to charge rent for it, which the rest of the family obviously is extraordinarily furious about because they wanted this unit to go to either one of them or to stay in the family. I guess like whoever the owner is, he's not close enough to be like sharing any of the profit with them, which is a big problem. So also he has no interest in making it like nicer at all because he was very clear with the fact that he needs somebody who is able to take care of the place. If something broke, we need to fix it. Basically, there's no superintendent. So it's like what you see is what you get. And this is how the previous people lived here too. And they got, on top of the conditions, which they didn't do too much to fix it up, but on top of that, they got horribly harassed, as we found out that we're going to get horribly harassed. And we knew this going in because just even with us coming to look at the place a couple of times in the same day, I think once I went by myself, and then my husband came later in the day, and this woman from upstairs just like flew into the door. She just like threw her body against the door and started like cussing at our kids. Like, mind you, we weren't even living in here. So she was already like trying to like warm us up to the fact that we're not going to get a good reception. And I was horrified. I was horrified because I had no experience with anything like this. It's like she was just being completely unhinged. She was screaming. She was coming in here like screaming in my face. Like she didn't even know me. We didn't even rent the place. And of course I was like, what? Like if this is going to be like an example of how life here is going to be, which is what she was trying to portray it as, like, you better not move in here because I'm going to be like this all the time. And my husband was like, it's not a big deal. And I was like, well, I have to be here with the kids like full time, and you're going to be at work, so it's not going to be a big deal for you. But eventually I was like, this is a really good deal, and we don't have a place to live, and this is twice the size of our old one, and we can always just move out again. And I know it sounds like we really should not have moved in here, and I got this like sinking feeling like, because the apartment just looked so depressing and just it was just so nasty. And like the peeling paint everywhere in the kitchen. I mean, I wish I had a photo of like original kitchen. You can see some of the kitchen in the in the end of the first video, but I don't think I have any photos of what the cabinets look like that were in here. They were completely rusted through. Like if you put a cup in it, it would just fall out of the bottom, as well as this countertop, which was something really scary, like out of a horror movie. So we knew that we'd have to deal with the fact that there's like no outlets. Half the windows are like barely open or feel like they're gonna fall out. Peeling paint. There was definitely signs of roaches, and then we found out there was mice. And I would ask the landlord, like I was just trying so hard to be like, oh, like are there like any problems? And he's like, no, it's great, you know. But he did make it very clear that these people upstairs are crazy because of the experience of the previous tenants. So, long story short, we just went for it and we took the apartment because it is so hard for the reasons I already mentioned before, like with credit history and all of this stuff, to get anything. And the fact that this place was so reasonably priced, I was like, you know, maybe this is temporary. If we really can't live here, we really can't live here, but we need somewhere to live right now. And we'll just see what happens. The good thing is that the landlord will pay us back for things that we have purchased, like we got a new stove secondhand and he paid for that. Major repairs like painting and getting like walls. We had to get like mud for making the walls smoother, like stuff like that. We just give him the receipt and we've gotten reimbursed for that, which is great. He's hands off. He doesn't really get involved. He hasn't raised the rent in years, which is great. But what happened with the neighbors was they were seriously harassing us. Like they would just find reasons to bang on the door, and it wasn't just like bang on the door. It was like pounding with both fists, like throwing their body against the door. They would lean on the doorbell, like when my kid was crying, because the youngest was still pretty small at this point. And they were like, why is he crying? And I'm like, I'm on the first floor. I can just reach out the door and ring all of your doorbells all day long and all night long. Like, you're not gonna like win this contest of trying to disturb me and ring my doorbell. It's not gonna happen. So they just eventually kind of ran out of things. Like they'd still be nasty if they saw me in the hallway, but I stopped really, like I was so sensitive to this at first, but then it just really stopped mattering because I understand the reason why these people did that. Also, they vandalized the shit out of our car. They scratched it. So we just got a car. Like we never had a car. I've only driven my parents' car. Like I'm in my 40s and I never had my own car. And like we just got this 20-year-old van, and the van was like in really good cosmetic condition, still is, but every time we'd go out there it would have like new scratches on it until we're like, oh, they're when they see it parked on the street, they're like somebody's going at it really hard. And there's not very much we can do because I can't, like, even if I have a camera outside the window does not mean that anything is visible over there, because you can't, like, it's a whole block, so I cannot park the car in front of the window directly because there's like no place to park. One time they called the cops on us because, okay, so the building's really old and everything's really crappy, and when they hire somebody to fix something, it's like the cheapest person and labor possible, so they do like a horrible job. There's tape everywhere where they should have just like replaced the wallpaper in the hallway. There's tape, there's like cracking. The ceiling is like cracking. So they accused us of collapsing their basement because we're on the first floor and there's a basement, which is its own story, but I was kind of happy that at least we weren't like on top of people. The kids aren't going to be like jumping up and down, and there's like these people are downstairs. So, but apparently that didn't matter because they still like told my kids not to run, which is like completely absurd because they're kids and we're on the first floor. But they accused us of collapsing the ceiling, which is just the cracks from the drywall or whatever the ceiling is made out of. And it would have like fallen apart anyway, because when we moved in, it was like falling apart in the hallway without us being there. So so they called the cops, and the cops were like, well, you could like take them to court, but this isn't our jurisdiction. And we tried telling the cops that we were being harassed constantly, and the cops were like, I said good day. They did not want to get involved in this whatsoever. So I do have like a clip of this crazy woman like trying to get in. Maybe I can dig that up. But basically, it was just awful. Like, I remember they accused me of like putting beer bottles or beer cartons outside when it wasn't trash day, and I was like, that's not mine. And the woman was just like screaming through the door that I'm a bitch liar, and like pounding on the door, being like cussing at my kids, which is like, what do they have to do with this? Ironically, her family, and she lives there with like her kids who are adults, like now they have like two toddlers who are just awful and screaming and crazy, and they've like totally backed off, maybe since they kind of got a taste of what that's like. I don't know. And there were instances where she would just stand at the top of the stairs, and when I was taking the kids out, she would just scream, son of a bitch, little son of a bitch. So I would run up there and just scream in her face and tell her that she's a pile of garbage, which is completely uncharacteristic of me to do. But circumstances called for me to grow a backbone, I guess. Okay, so I did find some footage of one of the incidents. I'm gonna warn you that it's pretty disturbing. It gets pretty loud. So here it is in 3, 2, 1.
Running back and forth. Her ceiling fell down. Her ceiling
Is this
fell
a
down.
home invasion?
Sorry. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Stop. Just close the door. It's okay. It's alright. It's okay. It's okay, buddy. You okay? It's okay. It's alright.